functions that used to sometimes be independent. Tutoring and writing centers have been brought into academic libraries. Career centers, because we have in the books, we have in the library all the resources about getting jobs, so they now have the counselors in the academic libraries. Lots and lots of computer-generated and computer-searchable data that has been generated by research. GIS centers, everybody's favorite, coffee shops. Geographic Information Centers, GIS, I'm sorry, I should have written it out. So all of these places, things are being brought into the library and expanding what libraries do. Some recent trends, we're going towards everybody's thinking about single service points. Instead of having a reference desk and a circulation desk, and everybody was always confused, and going up to the circulation desk and asking the information questions, people are moving towards having one desk that's just a single service point. The Learning Commons, which is a fancy name for merging of the reference room and a computer lab, so that there's lots and lots of computer terminals and librarians there to help students, the information. And then these maker spaces, and I don't know whether maker spaces have hit the Czech Republic yet or not. They're the end thing in US libraries. They provide a place in a library. They have 3D printers and 3D laser scanners and 3D this and things that people can actually get together and make things. They're like research centers where people can have tools that they might not have available individually. And many places are going towards these maker spaces. So I'm going to close my conversation with you today with this one short video. This is a library that's very close to me. It's about 15 miles away in Raleigh. I'm at the University of North Carolina. This is North Carolina State University, which is the land-grant institution in North Carolina. So this is a university that specializes in engineering, technology. It's much like your National Technical Institute. So it has just opened a new library 2 years ago. And I hope I'm going to show you this video. I want you to think about this library. There are going to be a lot of people with real Southern accents, so just bear with them. They'll be speaking very slowly, and let's see if I can get this thing to work now. Think I can? Okay. And when it's finished, I will talk to you about it. This is one library that tried to redesign itself, reimagine itself for the future.
I don't think I've seen anything come along in North Carolina in recent years that people are as excited about. They just kind of feel like, well, we've got something great here, and we're proud of it. This is a signature building for us, transformative for the way people think about NC State. The High Library sets a pole out into the future and says we're going to be the leading edge technological university for many, many, many years to come.
The High Library is designed to be an interdisciplinary point, a place that could bring people together from across the university. It's a technologically rich library meant to be flexible and to grow and really breathe with technology as it changes.
This is a land-grant university that is practical. We base our curriculum around the real challenges that society faces, whether it's in disciplines like engineering, textiles, or agriculture. So NC State is focused on solving real-world problems and using the best technology to do that. And this library reflects that.
This was our goal, to give the students and faculty at the university a competitive edge, to have a library that really made a tremendous difference in their education and their research, and something that made them want to be lifetime learners. And so we decided on an iconic building.
The legislators knew this university needed a new library. We let them know that we intended to have a world competition for the designer.
Our practice began when we won the commission to revive the great Library of Alexandria in Egypt. Since the completion of that building, we've had an enormous interest in how people learn and how people interact with each other and informally pass knowledge from one person to the other.
The best architecture, going back in history, is how you experience a space. And working with Snowhetta, that's a lot of what we talked about. How are people going to experience it? Not what is it going to look like, what's it going to feel like?
We wanted natural light. We wanted it to fit in with the North Carolina geography because it's a very beautiful place. We have a beautiful spot here. We also wanted to have large, inspiring spaces. But we wanted to have surprise spaces. You go around a corner and the furniture changes or the type of space changes. And we wanted to have that element of discovery in the building.
We have over 80 different types of chairs in the Hunt Library, and dynamic and engaging colors and modern, interactive types of spaces.
The formal quality of the building came from a number of different ways of thinking. One of them had to do with the history of textile technology on the campus. In the 1800s, there was a technology developed that allowed textiles to be industrialized. It was a specialized kind of loom that used a punch card. And the shapes of these threads weaving across each other were very interesting to us. So it's almost as if the building is being threaded together. And that likewise is being threaded into the landscape. We didn't want to rely on active technology, things like computer equipment or movable blinds. Instead, we looked at more passive technology, simple features such as orienting the glass in a particular direction, placing the portions of the building that need sunlight closer to the facades and the portions that need little sunlight towards the middle. And then created a simple pattern of louvers that would maintain a more comfortable and controlled environment inside without the use of a lot of complex technologies.
The curtain wall is the exterior glass system and the fins, and what they do is the sun moves around during the day, they shade that glass so that it lowers the heat load, particularly during the summer.
One of the early fundamental decisions we had to make was, is this building mostly going to house book stacks in an open arrangement, or are we going to try something different to free up a lot of space in the building? We decided to use the BookBot, which is a much more dense arrangement of the 2 million volumes. And the wonderful thing about that decision is that it allowed us to create all these additional spaces for group study and high-tech collaboration that otherwise would have been occupied by book stacks.
Collaborative spaces are really important because the way that students are working now is in collaboration. Students are really teaching each other. The faculty member is more there as a resource, as an expert, but not there as just a lecturer. So they're working in groups, and the library really has to accommodate that. Having spaces like presentation rooms where students can actually practice, see how they work, videotape themselves. Whiteboards, everybody uses them, and you see students working on these boards, teaching each other. One person takes the lead, then another one takes the lead.
We have tried to make everything writable that we could. You'll see lots of glass in the building. All the group studies are glass tables. It's all meant to be written on.
Students want to be able to hook their laptops up to big displays, and they want to have access to the computing network on campus. They want gaming. They want to be able to have food and drink. We built upon that to design this library.
The Hunt Library model is to bring to the forefront all of this amazing creative technology to everybody. It makes it immediately accessible. So today I want to talk a little bit about a couple different applications that we built here at NC State. So this game is called Knoll. There's a game lab on the 3rd floor that has a 21-foot wide wall display that connects to every type of game console that you might imagine. This is a character that's stealing the knowledge from the Hunt Library. There are rooms that have 270-degree projections. There's 3D printers. There are spaces where you can just go and try out all sorts of ideas inside this technology scope. There's a very strong software industry here in North Carolina. No other students in the state will have access to as much technology as they've had access to here in the Hunt Library.
We're starting to get companies that are coming to look at this library and say, my gosh, we're going to have to step it up to be prepared for the students that come out of NC State.
Some of the folks I work with in the community are talking about this space. People are already thinking about how their offices may change to reflect some of the neat things that the Hunt Library has incorporated.
From the day he first spoke to us in the design team, Governor Hunt said this is about people that are not yet born, that there are those people that will come long after we are gone, that will be influenced in a positive way, we hope, by the development of this structure.
I hope the library means for the university that it helps to recruit and retain the very best students and the very best faculty, and that we are known as a place of excellence and a place of passion and ideas and vision. You can't be in this building and not think something's happening at this university.
My last slide actually had on it, I guess I can turn to it. I wanted to talk to you again about the trends in the Czech Republic, and if you had any questions or discussion, I'd love to carry on with it. The Hunt Library opened up about a year ago, and it has made a big impact on the other academic libraries in the area, as you can imagine. One of our rival institutions has got this big, new, shiny plaything out there, and we've all gone to look at it, and it's a fantastic library for many people. There are lots of people who dislike the library immensely and don't want to study there. Now, NC State has another library. They have a more traditional library, and this is the new one on their new campus. So students have a choice between a more traditional library and the Hunt Library. The Hunt Library is great for technology, and I think that, and for engineering, and for textiles, and for some of those gaming, IT, it has a lot of things that most libraries don't have. But to me, why I brought it in was because they sat down and tried to think what library would serve our students of today and tomorrow, and they came up with this vision of a library. And we're luckily able, with the state's help, to get the money. The state's help and a lot of private fundraising to open this new library. But I think that sometimes we get the most innovative libraries in our technological institutions because they really are on the cutting edge of technology. But I don't know how you'd like the Hunt Library. It's pretty nifty. I like it, but it doesn't suit everybody. But let's just talk a little bit of time left about libraries and what you all think about academic libraries and where you think they should go in the future. How much time do we have?
Well,
20 minutes.
sounds like
Okay, well, I can, you're going to help me now for 20 minutes. Yes.
I was thinking about, when you were talking about the fundraising, when you look at Hunt, for example, when you look at NTK, National Technical Library here in Prague, what do you think about the possible opportunities for libraries to, let's say, segue into the commercial realm, offering, let's say, conference spaces, event organizations and things like that. NTA is doing that to some extent, although I cannot say how much money they raise on that. Or you said the digitization of the printed materials or of the bibliographia. That's another area where there may be some public tenders for digitization. Maybe libraries could take part in that and raise some money from those areas. What do you think about that?
Well, I think libraries are having to look at this. I think that our bedrock foundation was all materials should be free to everyone. And we should have spaces and people need conferences, we should just let them come in free and use them. And I think for many libraries that is still the model, but I think you're finding more and more that they're going towards a quasi, not corporate model, but are thinking about things that they can produce that might bring a revenue stream to the library. For instance, I know that at the University of Michigan, for a long time, they have had in the library people who work as, they will find information for you if you're not a student. So you can come in, if you're a corporation, and you can ask them to do a research question for you, and they will do it. But it was just as though they're private information brokers. They will charge you for it. but they will use the library's resources. And you find that very commonly in many large academic libraries. With the digitization, I think the trade-off is somebody helps pay to digitize, and then, because it costs money, and then as a result of it, they might, for instance, a university press might get part of the proceeds of that. It's a hard thing to know. We've got a clear mission, I think, to serve the faculty and the students. And in an ideal world, we'd be funded enough that we don't need to go out and raise our own money. But I think you'll find many more libraries thinking it's easier. That fundraising is part of that mission more than actually trying to find ways to raise money themselves out of what they do. But definitely people are thinking about it. And it maybe we'll all have to come to it sooner or later. And most places charge for photocopying and things like that. So there's a little stream of revenue from people.
That's very, very low value added.
Oh,
What you're talking about is value added services.
Yeah.
Be it digitization, be it venue organization events, or
Yeah.
in libraries that have, let's say, suitable
Yeah.
spaces.
I think if you had a suitable venue and you were, and a lot of libraries do have nice auditoriums, they have nice facilities. So maybe for anything that's associated with the university, any nonprofit, they could come in and use it for free, as they always had. But if the corporate world wanted to come in and use it, I think it'd be very fair to charge. Because it is publicly provided space, and the corporations might say, well, our taxes help support it, but I think you could make a case for charging them. I wouldn't have any problem with that. I think a lot of libraries do that. And a lot of public libraries especially have meeting rooms, and they have policies of who can meet in the meeting rooms. And they usually don't charge for them, but if it is a profit-making organization, they will charge. Community organizations, they wouldn't. It's a shame that we have to go find ways to keep ourselves in business, but yeah, we do. Yeah.
Well, I think on the other hand, when you have a venue like the Hunt Library or like the NTK, it would be a shame not to be able to use it for other uses than just the, let's say, the education.
I think you're exactly right. If you've got capacity that's not being used by students. Let me tell you a new job title in the library that I've never heard of. The Hunt Library has somebody called the visitor librarian. They had so many people coming, they've had to hire somebody to coordinate all the visits and they have had so much publicity about this library. It's just amazing. I just gave you one. If you have time sometime, get on their website and look at some of the other things they're doing there, because they are very, very useful. And I'm not sure they'll have a visitor librarian always, but it has attracted attention, and I think the attention is attracted from the corporate world. You can be sure that the corporations are asking to give, they're going out and asking for donations from the corporate world. They're coming to visit and they say, wow, this is neat. So that the corporations, IBM, Glaxo, all the corporations that are around there are being asked for support for that library. And it just makes sense. Would you all like to study in the Hunt Library, I think? Would you find it interesting?
Well, as for me, I love it.
Yeah, well, it's really, and the book bot is a really interesting thing. So now to me, you can't browse anymore. And as librarians, we've always said browsing was like, the way you learn, you find one book on the shelf, but you can virtually browse. They have a system that you can take one book and put it in the little cabinet, the thing, and there's a picture of all the books that would be on each side of the book if they had been physically shelved together. But instead, there are these metal boxes that are arranged by size. It's almost going back to the old idea of the completely closed stack library. So they'd have some breakfast material available, but everything else you have to request. Now you get it within 2 or 3 minutes. It's a very quick system, but it's all closed shelf. You don't need to see it. Yes.
I think it's too much electric dependent, because when it's blackout, so the library can.
It's a wisdom. He says it's too much dependent on the electricity. You're right. You're absolutely right. I don't know what would happen if I don't know if they have a generator or something. I never thought of that. It's a good question. Of course, if the lights are out, nobody can see inside the stacks anyway. So, if they're actually a power blackout, we're all we're all in trouble. Get our flashlights and go into the stacks.
Now, one idea came to my mind when we were talking about from the video that you saw everything like new and shiny, and as from my experience from the libraries here in the center, they have to keep it, well, since it is in the center, so you have to keep up with the architecture. So you can do that much changes. And as for the interior, you also have to match it with the rest. So it might be a problem in the future.
I think you're exactly right. In a city that is historic, that you're forced to have a library where, you know, within a certain geographical area, the Hunt Library would stick out like a sore thumb. Well, I remember when they were thinking about designing the new Czech National Library.
Yes.
Is that still, I mean, that trouble, what happened to that? I don't know.
Cancelled.
That's what I thought, it was canceled. But I think it was, you know, the sort of same idea that, you know, this different type of library building. The Hunt Library would not look right in downtown Prague. It would not look right in Oxford. It wouldn't look right in lots of places. North Carolina, compared to Prague, is wide open. I mean, we have far fewer people per square mile, you know, especially where, and this is a new campus on the outskirts of the city of Raleigh. So they were able to experiment with this new shape of one. But it would not, you're absolutely right, it wouldn't look right in downtown Prague. No, I mean.
Because that library, I think it was built out of the green, like out of nothing.
It was, absolutely. There was nothing there. Here,
if you want to renovate the library, you have to watch out so you don't damage the building or something.
Yeah, we do not have those constraints, because, I mean, think how old your city is compared to, you know, we're talking about two different worlds in terms of the historic background. So yes, we don't have that worry.
If you want to do something like that, you need to go the greenfield way. There's no way to do it in brownfield area, especially in the historic center.
Yeah, no, I don't think you would work here.
Yeah, then there's a problem with accessibility if you build it like outside of the city, and people will complain that you can't access it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. Good point. Yes.
A lot of people hated Eiffel Tower as well, and now it's a great site, and I think nothing is still forever, and even the cities and towns that are historically important have to change in time.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, people did hate the Eiffel Tower, but it looks awful, so, you know, I guess we get used to anything. But this is really not an unattractive building. It wouldn't look right in Prague, in the downtown area, but it's actually a really very attractive building when you go to it, and it's set up and the flow is very nice, and you know it works well.
Oh, it's more beautiful than most of the buildings that are really actually built in Prague.
Right.
So I don't think this is a real problem.
Try to think about Zličín and the shopping park there.
Or Národní třída, which is in a historic center of the city, and we have a new building which is much more uglier than this.
Yeah, well, you know,
this is an amazing place.
I think Prince Charles of England, he's the one who's always against, you know, the new architecture messing up the old, and it's hard to get that balance between the new and the old. But this is a brand new campus, and everything on it is new. And it would be silly to build a library that looked like the Bodleian, because it just, you know, it wouldn't fit in. It would stick out there just as much as this library would stick out in downtown Prague, I think. You have to suit, the library has to suit its environment.
Yeah, there's also work in the space, the internal space, and I don't know, everything seems easier in this type of building, which is really open and full of natural light and everything. So.
Well, you know, it's just an idea that there's just more free, there's more open land in North Carolina than there is here, much more open land. But we have our, you know, we have a bus system, but we don't have the metros. We don't have, you know, all the wonderful things you have that make your libraries accessible to people. So that it's, there are trade-offs everywhere. It's just a library I want you just to take a peek at, because it's the newest one that I have been in, you know, and it was just built around. But you can be sure it has made people in the other surrounding libraries, well, I think in libraries across the country, most of them have seen it, think about what their library should be in relation to what they have done there. I mean, we have now got a makerspace called Research Hub in our university library that was opened up about a month ago, and Duke is planning one that's opening up in about 6 months. I mean, people are looking at it and trying to figure out what are the best aspects of this that we can use in our environment. So there's no one right design, I don't think, for academic libraries, because there's so many different users and so many different needs, and I think the disciplines demand such different types of libraries.
Yeah, well, talking about librarians, I was surprised that in America people look at them as an expert, because we were talking about it here in Czech Republic. It's people usually imagine librarian as a person sitting behind a desk and just handing out books and so on.
It's a constant battle, I think, to show your expertise as a librarian. It's very easy for people to assume that librarians are clerks, some sort of glorified clerks. But I think as more and more with information technology revolution, librarians can do things that most people can't do. And they're able to bring them information they can't get on their own. And I think there's a lot of respect for librarians and what they're able to do.
Yes, we discussing about this in the class of communication, because this stereotype is a problem, because paraprofessionals sitting on the reference desk. Not big like reference librarians. Reference librarians sitting outside.
That's right. And that's why I think there has been this move towards this one service model desk, because people were going to the circulation department and asking reference questions, and they're getting people who have really no preparation or training in how to find information. But if you have one service point and somebody comes up to you and says, you know, where are the toilets? Well, you can tell them. But if somebody else comes up to you and asks a deep reference question, you can say, well, let me have you speak to so-and-so, and they'd be right there available. And you could really sort of, as they say, triage those questions to where they need to go, because everybody is in the same area. And I think it was to sort of preserve the expertise or demonstrate the expertise of librarians that we had done that, because otherwise, you know, it is a struggle.
And opening hours in this new libraries.
The opening out? Oh, the book bot. Yeah, that is an interesting thing. It really, if you go to many commercial things like LLB, it's a mail order place, they have exactly the same thing. Amazon, all of their stock is on shelves, and you know, it's a little mechanical robot goes and fetches it. And this is Oxford University Press has a facility very close to us in North Carolina. It's right in the Research Hub, and they had this kind of thing for their books. And I think, you know, when people saw it and thought, let's try it. And it's a nice thing that they've experimented with it to see how it works. And they don't have, you know, that all their books, you really couldn't see it, but all their books are in these boxes that are like, I don't know, this big by this big. And they're all stored just stacked on top of one another, but they all have tags in them, and that little robot can go and pull it out and bring it to you in no time. It works, but it isn't. It's an odd thing. If you like to browse the stacks, it doesn't. I think we're probably almost out of time, aren't we? I want to thank you so much for listening to me and for responding and for letting me talk to you about American academic libraries and for your thoughts on Czech academic libraries. And I hope you all come to North Carolina and come visit me and go see the Hunt Library. They have a visitor librarian. We'd love to have you come and give you a tour. So it will be just great. But thank you so very much.
Thank you.